What happened to the protest song when musicians like Bob Dylan sang anti-war songs? Richard Thompson, the English folk rock singer, has, through his critically acclaimed songs, explored politics, religion and the personal, but has rarely achieved large record sales. Can musical traditions adapt to modern tastes and survive? Also, as a convert to Islam, how far does he believe music is about cultural identity? Richard Thompson, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
First of all, just tell us, what exactly is folk rock?
It means different things to different people. I think, generally speaking, it means traditional music updated, but brought into the here and now stylistically. So in my case, it was taking folk music and adding a rock and roll beat to it.
And is it basically you are a folk musician, but perhaps you're a bit embarrassed to just describe yourself as that, because it kind of conjures up images, at least in Britain, of the chunky cardigans, the warm beer, you know,
That's
a bit old-fashioned.
That's me all over, yes. I don't know.
You're not wearing one now, though.
No, but I have, you know, a huge collection at home. Folk means different things to different people. Sometimes people mean acoustic when they mean folk. Sometimes people mean traditional when they say folk. So it's a difficult word to really define. But
you're happy being described as a folk musician,
it's
are you?
Okay. You know, if people say I'm a folkie, I say no, I'm a rocker. And if people say I'm a rocker, I say no, I'm a folkie. So I like to be perverse about this.
But you know Paul Gambaccini, the American DJ and
Sure,
music critic who's based in London, and he's been covering music since the 1960s.
Yeah.
And he says folk music is one of the stronger minority music forms. It has its own culture, its own stars. You're probably one of them. But for the general population, it doesn't even register. I mean, why do you think that is? Because a lot of people say it's good music.
It's because the English, you know, as removed from, you know, Scots, Irish and Welsh, the English undervalue their own tradition and tend to treat it as a novelty. And I don't know when this started. This might have started way back, people like Stephen Foster. And certainly in the recorded music era, where the romance and the mythology came from somewhere else, it was imported. So, you know, you had songs about, you know, the Camptown races and you know, Carolina Moon and, you know, songs about New Orleans and Memphis. It all sounds far more romantic than, you know, Scunthorpe and Sleaford and, you know, those English place names. So I think it became a struggle to fit English culture into popular song. There was a real split.
Is that
there.
you think the English don't really value their tradition? Is that why then do you think, for instance, Morris dancing, there's a big debate at the moment about this tradition of dancing around Maypole with the kind of pipe music, 500-year tradition. People are saying it's going to be dying out, it's going to be gone in 20 years.
Could be. As Thomas Beecham said, you should try everything once except incest and Morris dancing.
So you wouldn't mind if Morris dancing died out then?
No,
you just said the English don't value their tradition.
Well, it's true. Morris dancing is very important in you know, folkloristically. It's pagan. It goes way back. You know, if you don't mind pagan things, then you know it's up there in importance.
But it's another example, is it, of the English not valuing their traditions?
Yeah, yeah. Morris dancing is generally mocked. You know, it's seen as a kind of a ridiculous thing.
And so is folk music sometimes, by some people.
Music sometimes. I think that's slowly overturning. I think people are slowly realising that it should be closer to the mainstream, as it is, say, in Ireland. You know, in Ireland, folk music gets in the charts. In Scotland, you know, people are proud of their heritage, proud of their culture. It's not that far removed from popular music. Now,
you were one of the original founders of Fairport Convention in the 1960s. You left them in the early 1970s to pursue a solo career, and once voted as one of the world's top 10 guitar players. And yeah, I'm going to ask you to demonstrate for us in a second.
Damn.
But Fairport Convention, you know, had an awful lot of hits and became well known. So why don't you play us one of your tunes just so we can listen? I mean,
okay, well,
Meet the Ledge.
Meet on the Ledge.
Meet on the Ledge.
Meet on the Ledge. This is an old Fairport song, actually.
And it draws on a tradition of English folk songs from like hundreds of years ago.
Well, it does. You know, in Fairport, we were really singing a lot of material that goes back to, you know, maybe 1500, 1600. We were singing the old ballads, and so when we were writing songs, it tended to fit into the, you know, into the general tradition. So anyway, sing this. We used to say, come the day when I'll be making songs or finding better words. These ideas never lasted long. The way is up along the road. The air is growing thin. Too many friends have tried, swept off this mountain with the wind. Meet on the ledge, we're gonna meet on the ledge. When my time is up, I'm gonna see all of my friends. Meet on the ledge, we're gonna meet on the ledge. If you really mean it, it all comes around again.
That was lovely. I mean, you said you had a bit of a sore throat, but actually
A lot of a sore throat.
You sound like you're in fine voice. But
Well, it's usually an octave higher.
now, I mean, you are a very interesting person, and one of the interesting things about you is that there you are, an English folk singer, let's just say, and you've lived in the United States, however, for the best part of 2 decades,
Yes.
living in LA. Your wife is American, and actually you've got quite a strong following, not only in the UK, but in the United States.
That's true.
Do you think the Americans see you as sort of being rather quaint, bringing a touch of England to them?
Maybe. I wish they didn't, but maybe they do. But,
Why do you wish they didn't?
Well, you know, because perhaps it's a preconception that they shouldn't have, and it kind of blocks them seeing what the music really is. But you know, they've had the Beatles, they've had the Stones, you know, they've had the Kings, they've had all that English stuff coming at them. So I think they're sort of used to the accent, that they can get around some of the cultural ideas, and they sort of see it as, you know, maybe they see it like the way they see reggae or something. It's like a sort of parallel culture happening somewhere else, but that they can absorb it, then they can understand it just about.
And as an Englishman abroad, I mean, you were born in London, do you
Yeah.
think that the distance has somehow, in a sense, made you cling even more to your Englishness, as it were?
I think it happens, yes. I think when you go away from a place, you see it in sharper contrast, definitely. You know, James Joyce wrote amazing stuff about Dublin, but it was from France and Zurich, you know, so sometimes you need that perspective to figure out who you are and where you fit in, you know. And I take a very colonial view of America, you know. I just see it as a sort of part of the British Empire, really. And I think there's like 60,000 Brits who live in Los Angeles. I mean, it's you know, not that I want to, but if you did want to play darts every night and go to the pub and have afternoon tea in a tea room, I mean, that's the place, you know, really.